Hello, Rick Ratz. We're here with Jimmy Walsh, Northeastern University's answer to Jim Thorpe, Bronco Nagurski, and Eddie Shore, probably. Two-sport Hall of Fame athlete at Northeastern, class of 1979. Played for Fernie Flamin. Prior to that, Hall of Famer with Catholic Memorial with the Knights, where they won the Super Bowl in 1973.
Right.
9-0, ranked third in the country that year in high school. Played both ways.
Yep.
And punted.
And
kicked.
And kicked off.
And the same thing at Northeastern. Tell us a little bit about Northeastern and playing with Fernie Flamin.
As you know, Fernie was thanks. Good to see you, Joe.
Good to see you, Walsh. Ocean.
Always a pleasure.
Which we'll talk about later. How he has the moniker, the derivation of Ocean, the nickname.
The man Fernie Flamin was quite a guy. You know, he was. I think they say he played his first NHL game at 17 years old, and one of those rookie years, he got hurt his shoulder, and got shipped back to Boston on the train. And the poor guy, the woman where he rented the flat in town, had rented his room while he was on the road, so he had nowhere to stay when he came home, playing in the NHL, if you could believe that stuff. But he was a great guy.
17, I think Gretzky was 17 when he first
Big,
started.
strong man. He taught me a lot about playing defense. You know, I was just a kid that we really had no coaches because of, you know, the hockey was young.
Yeah.
The first Pee Wee team ever in the city of Newton, and you know, nobody really was. They knew a lot about baseball and soccer and those things, but not so much about hockey. There weren't many Americans that played around here.
Well, other than the legendary Brian Burke.
Unless, right.
Who has the record for the most goals scored ever at McHugh Forum.
There you go.
Just ask him. He'll tell you.
Right, that's all right.
But, yeah, that was probably how you get to know those guys and get into the CYO League.
Yeah.
Coached by legendary John McNamara, funeral director Big Jack Mack, one of my idols. And you guys won the city championship for the CYO. What year would that have been? Probably around the same year.
No, we were 1970, maybe even earlier, maybe 69.
And the best story about that is at the banquet, Jack Mack told me this story many times. It was you, Beaver Gallagher, Brian Burke,
right,
Johnny Mannix,
the Youngs,
Kerry Young,
yeah,
who could fly,
yeah,
and Berkey could fly too. And they get to the banquet and they're giving Big Jack the trophy, and Big Jack's presenting the trophy to the priest, whoever the pastor was, the priest in charge. And the priest says, I don't recall seeing any of these boys in church on Sunday. Are they from the parish? And Big Jack said, Father, you just told me to win. They're all Catholics.
That's
Don't
right.
worry about it.
We were in St. Ignatius. Most of us.
But you guys were all ringers.
Well, yeah. He had his team. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah. He knew the game.
We had a lot of fun back then.
Yeah.
But again, everything was young. You know, the American hockey or U.S. hockey was really just budding, and we had the fellas from Brookline there, and they won the '60 Olympics, and of course your dad was terrific back in the day, and you know he was U.S. national team in silver medal.
Silver medal 1950.
Yeah.
You've done your homework. All right.
No, I lived in Chestnut Hill, and I would come after school every day to the rink.
Yeah.
And who would be at the rink but your dad? And
Every day.
Snooks had an office right there. Couldn't get by them, you know, without. And I'd sneak in, put my skates on, and skate around before everybody came out. That's another story for another day.
And Kerry lived on campus, so he was probably the first guy to ever skate on the rink.
Exactly.
Think about it.
Yeah, and we were all together back then.
He lived right behind Roberts Center there.
Yeah. And all his brothers and sisters. I think there were 5 or 6 of them in there.
They must have been. You guys must have had some fun.
Oh yeah. It was fun. The campus, there was so much
It was like
going
me.
on.
Well, that was like me and the McNamara's. That was our weekend. We'd run around campus, get in trouble, skate all day Saturday, all day Sunday.
Yeah.
Snow
days.
That was before we
beat the
discovered
rink,
girls.
right.
You know.
Had a lot of fun.
Now playing at Northeastern, Jimmy Jimmy was I'm gonna say a two-way defenseman. I'm gonna go 50-50 offense, defense. Held his own, held the blue line. You didn't want to tangle with him. Did you ever tangle with Nylon in practice or anything?
Oh, yeah, we had many scuffles.
Yeah? Real
You know,
scuffles
'cause-
or
Well, yeah.
just hitting each other or?
Fernie had to break us up a few times.
Really?
Not so much in high school, but
I would say that's an
in
even
college.
fight.
I don't know, we fought differently, I guess. But full respect, the kid did a wonderful
Yeah.
job, played a long time.
He did play a long time.
And he gave a lot, you know. He really
Knuckles.
did. Knuckles now.
Where's he living? He's still around, isn't he?
He's up in Canada.
Oh, he's
I
up in
think.
Montreal.
Yeah.
They love him up there. He's a legend.
Yeah.
He's a legend. Now, at Northeastern, as a defenseman, Jimmy played 76 games, had 60 points for a .789 point per game average, which for a defenseman is tremendous.
We never had those numbers.
No, but I
back then. I've
figured
never
this
had
out the other day.
That's interesting.
You know, like one of your peers, Joe Augustine, is 1.11, and Joe, he'd probably get mad at me for saying this, but I'm gonna say he was more offensive
Yeah,
than
oh,
you
yeah,
were,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, he was good with the puck.
And he was on your,
And he was
He's
a big
still-
guy too, which, you know,
he still is,
yeah,
he still is.
yeah.
Now, who would you say at Northeastern, as a defenseman, was the toughest guy forward for you to defend against in your college years?
God, I don't know, I wish I could remember them all, but there were some great players back then. Ralphie Cox was at UNH, and he was leading scorer in the country.
And he was,
You know,
was he the last cut on the Olympic team?
Yes, he was one of the last cut, and everybody in New England and the East couldn't believe that he, you know, didn't make the team.
I think Joey Mullen would have been the best player on that team.
Joey was great, absolutely great. Who are the other kids? Of course, Silky and the kids from BU, because we played them so often, you know, ECAC, and we had a wild
What about the Mahar? Who would you say would be tougher to
Ricky
defend?
Mahar and all.
Ricky
Yeah.
Mahar or Joey Mullen?
I think Joey Mullen for sure,
Yeah.
because I don't think I could catch Joey. I caught Ricky a couple times, pretty good, but
Joey was wily.
yeah,
And
yeah,
he balanced.
yeah.
Like he grew up on roller skates, but that's how he skated on the ice too. Like he was on
Yeah.
roller skates.
Yeah, plus
All
I
his
think-
goals, he's like on one
But I
leg.
think he's stronger than Mahar was. Mahar didn't have the weight. Joe had a little bit of
Hockey strong,
girth. Yeah.
balance,
Yeah, yeah.
the moon. 1966, 77, I think, might have been your sophomore year. Because
Red Sox.
You didn't play your freshman year, but do you remember beating BC 5-4 at McHugh Forum?
I think that was the first game I played at McHugh
In uniform.
in
Or
uniform.
in a Northeastern
In the
uniform, I should
Northeastern
say,
uniform,
yeah.
because I had gone to Lenny Siglarski the year before and told him, you know, I'd do anything to go to BC, and you know, my grandfather was a Hall of Famer, and, you know, he's told me that, you know, he really had no spot for me, he had his team all picked and stuff like that, so I ended up at Northeastern. So the first game back, I scored, I think I scored on the first shot I took on net.
Who would have been, Skiddy would have been the goalie.
I might have been, or
Yeah.
the kid before him, I don't know. This was
76, 77, it would have been Skiddy, unless he was hurt.
77.
Would have been Skiddy or Mike Cronin.
And Billy O'Dwyer was on that team.
Yeah.
And Billy and I played later on with the LA Kings down in New Haven. And he's a great guy. I know his family and all his friends and wife's family. And he would say that Lenny in the room said, "Don't ever let that kid Walsh shoot the puck again." He got really upset, I guess, in the room with them. And then I knocked Billy through the door. The latch was open, and Billy actually ran into Lenny on the bench. So I kind of scored and got a shot at Lenny at the same time one night.
Lenny used to go to the front of the bench a lot.
Yeah.
Which you don't see
Billy,
coaches do.
The door didn't latch all the way, you know, back in the day.
Yeah.
So when I slammed Billy, the door went flying open and it hit Lenny, and they all went in. And, you know, I kind of smirked at Lenny. I said, "Yeah, I can't play in this league for your team, but I'm here tonight, coach."
So Lenny didn't, he wouldn't have forgot that, I don't think.
No.
He wouldn't have forgot that.
So he was a little upset at them in the room. So
But,
it was,
but you didn't play hockey your freshman year.
No, the football coach wouldn't let me play. I had to go to the athletic director, Joe Zabilski, my sophomore year, and ask.
Whose son is my orthopedic guy
Yeah,
down
mine
in
too. He's
Duxbury.
put my ankle and
I
my
saw him
foot
2
together.
days ago.
Joe, yeah, young Joe.
Yeah,
And Northeastern at the time had no rink. They didn't have the arena. So they were practicing at Harvard, taking buses. They were getting dressed at the Cabot Gym at Northeastern.
the old Watson Arena.
And then busing to the old Watson Arena and practicing, and then busing back and showering at
That's a pain.
so it really was a pain in the ass. And Joe said, "Of course you can try out if you make the team. God bless you. You know, we'll give you." Football gave me my room and board, and hockey gave me my tuition.
So,
So the two made my folks very happy at the time.
so you were recruited to Northeastern for
No,
football?
I walked
primarily?
on. No, I
Oh,
wasn't.
you walked on the
I
team?
walked on the team.
And then you earned a scholarship?
3 days after the tryout, Bo Lyons said that I was going to start at middle linebacker and wanted to give me my tuition. So I went home to my dad. I said, "They want to pay my tuition." He goes, "Yeah." He and my mother had a glass of champagne.
I would think they'd be happy about that.
Yeah, that was a good day.
That's a big surprise. Oh, my God.
But Joe Zabilski was the guy, you know, I don't know if it really hurt me that much to lose. That year is so important, you
Yeah.
know, in your development. You know,
Yeah.
your freshman year in college is a big switch from
High school.
high school. And I missed all that and then got thrown in sort of as a sophomore.
Right.
On the bus in another rink. And it was quite something. They made me, because I was bigger at football, I was 230 or so, 235.
Yeah,
And Fernie wanted me at like 212, 210. So they'd make me skate with the JV and ran the varsity, yeah. And today you couldn't do it because the sports overlap so much. But back then they used to wait for hockey to stop, for football to end on
yeah.
Thanksgiving, so it was the day.
Butch Song, and I mean, when you think of
Oh,
guys
yeah.
that did that,
Yeah,
Freddie Willis.
yeah. There was a bunch of guys at BC that did it, yeah. But you can't anymore, the timing, you know, it's just,
Yeah,
they're 15 games in by the time football's done.
right. And plus injury, you're more apt to get hurt, obviously, playing football. Now, after Northeastern, you were called to the tryout for the 1980 Olympic team. And what was the story behind that with Herb Brooks?
Well, it was a surprise, really, to me. I got a letter that, you know, they wanted me to try out, and it was, you know, super for us and the family and everybody. But I knew all the guys from BU. You know, David Silk and I were pretty good friends, and in the summers we'd play together, and
Yeah.
Jackie O'Callahan, the same thing. So all of us sort of got thrown in a box and shipped out to Colorado. And I think everyone out there knowing who was going to stay and who was going to go, but it was a lot of fun, and I had a good time. I really had a good time. It was very different for me because I was the football kind of guy.
Right.
I'd only played 2 years of hockey, college hockey, at the time, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah, because that would have been, yeah.
So, and then I left. As a result of the tryout, I signed a 3-year contract with the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
I didn't make the team, obviously, but
Well, you had 4 games and 1 assist.
where I had 4 games and 1 assist,
The Sabres.
1981.
Yep.
Yeah, Christmas.
And then you went down to
81.
Rochester and Rochester, you had a few penalties.
Yeah, well, you know, the American League, everybody wants to
That
get.
was, I mean, that was Slapshot. Slapshot was a documentary.
Today, I don't know how many teams. There's 40 teams in the American League, or there's a lot of teams.
But it's different.
Yeah, back then we played everybody. We knew everybody, and
Yeah.
you know, there's 20 teams, guys battling out every
Yeah.
day.
I
So,
think
yeah,
you
it
had,
was rough.
I think you had like 480 penalties in 190 games or something.
There you go. I don't know.
That's pretty good.
Well, I should have stayed with the scoring percentage in college. So
Well, that's why I led
I'd
with
probably
that.
still be skating.
And right when you get out there, Herb Brooks took you to lunch?
Yeah, at the Broadmoor in Colorado, he said, "Walsh, I want to take you." And you know, all the boys are going, "Holy smokes, what's going on?" They couldn't figure it out.
Because it was like the day 1 or something. Right?
Yeah, he took me to That's my phone ring, the fishing. He took me up the hill at Lake Placid, or not Lake Placid, no, it could be, at the Broadmoor.
The Broadmoor Hotel.
Broadmoor Hotel, the pink one out in Colorado. And we sat down and he really didn't want to eat. He said, "You're here for a reason." And he said, "You're not going to make the team, but I've spoken to all the scouts. We all know who you are." He said, "You'll be fine." And he smirked. And he said, "The reason you're here is to knock some people's heads off." I swear to God, he said that to me. I said, "Sorry, Coach?" He said, "Well, we have a 60-game schedule before we even start the Olympics, and we have some mighty teams to play. And in that schedule was college, NHL,
Right.
exhibition back and forth.
Yep.
They went to Europe, and I think the famous one was like maybe 4 weeks before the Olympics, the Russians crushed them like 12-2 or
Right.
something. And he said, I want you to smack everybody. I want you to, take their heads off. I want to know who's going to be tough enough to make it through the 60-game schedule
Yeah.
and then beat the Russians."
And there was scouts there, obviously,
Oh, yeah,
so
that was full of
that didn't hurt.
soldier scouts, yeah. I think he'd already said, Scotty Bowman signed me, so I think they had already talked.
But you were undrafted previously
Oh, yeah,
to that.
undrafted, yeah,
Yeah.
completely.
So you're a walk-on,
Yeah.
going into Northeastern,
yeah.
then you're undrafted, and you have a 5 or 6 year pro career, I think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And you got invited out to Colorado.
right. So hockey been very, very good to me,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yes. What about the nickname Ocean? I always thought it, because it mirrored your lifestyle, where we live down here at Brant Rock, and we're at the jetty in Brant Rock, by the way, we'll mention that, but Ocean.
Well, you're right, because everybody thinks the same thing. I grew up in Humrock Beach, which is, a driver and a 3-wood up
Yep.
the street. And,
Maybe you're 3-wood.
well, you get a lot of roll on the,
That's a par 5 for me, I don't know, man.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
So when I came up with this, I didn't come up with it. When I finished my hockey career, I went back to Northeastern, and I had left as a junior and didn't get my degree, so I went full-time and got my degree actually in 1985, and I was originally 79 or something like that.
Yep, you were 79.
So during that year, I, really hadn't thought about working and where I was going to go. A good friend of mine owns Webb's Pro Fitness down in Norwell, and they're big body lifter guys. And my other friend, who was a great guy from the South Shore here, is Mike Breen, who I played with in Buffalo and Rochester, but is a Situate guy.
Yep.
Coached Situate to state championships. But long story short, Mike was best friends with Vince McMahon, the Federation wrestling guy,
Creative.
and actually became one of the referees on all the big shows and stuff like that. He was a great hockey player, played at Rochester, a good friend. So
Yeah.
they wanted to recruit me into the wrestling thing.
To be a pro wrestler.
To be a pro wrestler. They started me on the weights, and I was getting all pumped up, and I weighed 240 again, and I couldn't brush my teeth. I was so. And they named me Vince and Michael and Greg Webb. Greg Webb was probably the main guy, but they were giving me the wrestling name of Jimmy Ocean because of the ocean and the fishing and the whole thing.
They knew you were an accomplished angler.
Yeah, so that's kind of the way it happened. It was my wrestling name, not really my fishing name.
Yeah, but now it's the fishing name.
Yeah, you can get me at jimmyocean.com.
What's the biggest fish you ever caught? Because Jimmy is a very accomplished fisherman.
Well, I teach people how to giant tuna fish, so on my own boat, I think the biggest fish is 750 pounds or in that range.
How long did that take you to drag it?
Well, we caught him on a hand line, no rod or reel, we just in a bucket of line.
Where was
like
that?
like the old man in the sea back in the day, right here in Stellwagen Bay.
Did they eat the fish on the way in like they did the
No,
old
they
man in the
didn't,
sea?
no, we made sure that didn't happen.
It was-
We didn't have to go as far as the old man in the sea.
Right, right. I'm trying to think, you were president of the varsity club over at Northeastern also for a while.
Yep, yeah. Once you're the president, you're always the president. I guess they call me emeritus now,
Yeah,
But a lot of fun. I was the MC for all the Hall of Fame dinners, and they have a very active and wonderful varsity club over there.
Are you in the Hall of Fame at Northeastern for both football and hockey?
Yes, yep.
And did,
And at Catholic Memorial as well.
in Catholic Memorial, you played tennis and the
Tennis
javelin.
and track, yeah, through the javelin, yeah.
And what was the record that you had for the javelin? It's like 300 feet or something
No, it was
crazy?
206 feet, but Ronnie Lee, who was the great basketball player back in the day, was a Metco student at Lexington High.
Yeah,
And he threw it like 236 feet or something, so he blew everybody away. But I was third in the state in the javelin at
yeah.
state meet out at Brockton. It was a lot of fun.
Like I said, Jim Thorpe, Eddie Shore,
Harpoon throwing.
and
Yeah.
Bronco Nagurski, maybe,
There
throw
you go.
him into the mix.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else you want to touch on?
Nothing really. Just been lucky, really lucky with the great people, you know, the coaches and the Fernie Flamins and the Scott McKennies and the Bo Lionses and the Joe Zabilskis, thank God. for those
Jack
guys.
Renaud
Jack Renaud was my mentor. Jack, I have a Wikipedia page.
just passed away
because of Jack.
within the last couple of years, right?
Yep, he went to every football game while he was alive at Northeastern. Now they don't play football over there anymore, but he was quite a guy. Yeah.
Although they should,
It's just like BU and all these, you know,
yeah.
city schools. It's tough. It's tough to bring 120 guys and all this stuff.
Right.
It costs a lot of money.
Right, and your Walsh Contractors Construction, you guys were involved in the whole renovation of Matthews Arena.
Correct. We rebuilt Matthews, the ice surface, actually the size of the rink, and added a luxury suite for named after George Makris, one of the
Moose.
famous, Moose
Moose
Makris.
Makris.
The old football Northeastern guy back in the day with
Yep,
no helmets.
yep,
You know, really wonderful guys. He and Jack and all those guys are great. They've been really good to me.
because I remember, like, we played there in high school when it was BCI, and the whole upper deck, you couldn't use.
I played there in junior high for weeks, junior high in Newton Center.
Oh, yeah,
And, you know, we used to get our skates caught in the hole where the Zamboni was. coming in
that
and
one
out.
corner.
Yeah, it was
My
really
father
bad.
used to always say, watch the pucks coming out of
Yeah.
that corner, because
Yeah.
it's a funny bounce
Yeah.
coming out of there.
And then the New England Whalers and the WHA played their first season in that rink, on that little egg rink. So it was
Where
quite-
they won the
quite a
Girls'
history
Cup.
there. Right, yep,
Speaking of Bronco Nagurski, Timmy Sheehy was on the team, his
right,
nephew.
exactly, yep,
Everybody played there.
yeah.
Like in my dad's day, that was the rink.
That was the rink, right,
You know,
Yeah.
maybe you'd get in the garden once in a while, but
Yeah.
if you were lucky.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Well, you've had an accomplished career in many aspects,
Yeah, been blessed, thanks. It's
and
been fun.
you're taking me fishing this summer, right?
Absolutely,
All
catch a
right.
big one.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, Walsh.
thanks, Joe.
Jimmy Walsh, Northeastern, 1979,
Go Huskies.
one of the legends, and I got my master's in Northeastern, so I'm gonna, even though my primary affiliation is Boston College, we're
There you
gonna
go.
say, go Huskies also. And they're doing well this year. They're one of the, I think they're the top team,
Jimmy Madigan has done a great job.
you know?
He really has.
All right, kid,
Take care.
see you later. Thank you.